Well, I think you'll find it's actually sponsored by Squarespace.
I think it's summertime. Do you think we should, go out for a walk? Get a bit of exercise, a bit of vitamin D? What do you reckon? Why not? What, just stay here and make stuff? I mean, that's kind of what I want to do, so it must be the right choice. What is vitamin D, anyway? No, I'm pretty sure it's not that. That don't sound right at all. Hello everyone, welcome to episode 85. I've been making lots of buildings and miniatures and working on my new tabletop game that I hope to release at some point. I've been doing a lot of the same stuff and I need a palette cleanser. I need to do something fun, something that I just want to build just for the sake of it. And when I think palette cleanser, my head goes straight to, rotten meat. Disgusting, festering meat for the maggots and spots and gore and pus and just disgusting stuff. Is that weird? Am I weird? Anyway, I want to make some weird gory stuff because there's something fun about making gory things. It looks really disgusting but really isn't. It's just a bit of clay and Mod Podge, That sort of stuff is fun for me. Now there is a part in the Gutterlands that has a giant meat mountain, a mountain made of meat. I'm not going to go into it here, it's kind of strange. But there's lots of terrain surrounding that mountain that's like all gory and disgusting. I'm thinking I might make some terrain for that. So what can you expect in this episode? Well, today we are going to make some sandstone rocks using EVA foam. We're going to use some of that clay, or das clay, which doesn't actually mean that in German. I was wrong, but I'm still going to use the joke anyway. We are going to use several beauty products and fake teeth and just things that generally are supposed to make you look better and use them to make something look quite worse. We're going to make some realistic looking eyeballs, which I'm quite happy with, and at the end we're going to have a little bit of story time with Bill while I paint something and get really bored. So that's what's coming up in the episode. If any of that appeals to you, you're probably quite weird, which is fine. It's fine. Just make sure we don't go out there in the public because who needs vitamin D? So let's do some doodling time. Let's do doodling. Doodly. The gore fields is what I'm going to call it for now. I don't know why. It sounds pretty cool, doesn't it? I guess. We want to design meat, lumps of rotten, gory meat. I'm probably going to chuck a few eyeballs in there, some fingernails and teeth and bones and everything you can think of that's gory. I'm going to try and chuck it in there somehow. But I'm just not really sure how I want to go about it. Like I could just have piles of meat just stacked up on top of each other to make like hills of meat, big fingers sticking out the ground. I don't know. Let's doodle and figure it out. That's the whole point, really, isn't it? I'll just shut up. Now I do like the idea of a big spinal column holding up a big chunk of meat. I need to think of this thing more structurally and kind of like a growth, like tumours clinging to other things, spreading out from Meat Mountain, like kind of just in all directions. I'm thinking like a big mouth. Maybe we can include some teeth in this build. There's got to be some way of including teeth. Also structurally, I'm thinking there could be pre-existing rocks that this meat is kind of growing up, like a growth on the side of it, kind of trying to climb to the top and envelop the rock. That kind of unintentionally looks like a little character with a nose and an eyeball and a mouth. That wasn't intentional. I won't be making that. Yeah, but I'm really liking the idea of rocks, like stacks of like sandstone rocks that this meat is kind of climbing up, maybe clawing at with big fingers, like gripping onto. Yeah, I think that's the kind of direction I want to go. I'm also thinking instead of rocks we could have piles of junk that the meat is kind of enveloping, like it comes out of its mouth, things like that. You know, that might be quite interesting. I mean, I think that's quite a good idea, but I'll probably forget to do that when I actually build the thing. But I do have lots of sandstone rocks just gathering dust on the shelf, which I might be able to repurpose. We're going to add a little bit of colour. Every episode, when I do a little bit of a sketch like this, you know, I fill this sketchbook up. I get lots of comments saying, like, Bill, you're going to release this as like an art book, like you're going to get this printed up so we can purchase a copy. And I'm not really sure about it because to me, I don't think they're good enough. I don't think the sketches are good enough. But I do get lots of comments about it. I mean, one, I don't really know how to go about it. I'm not really sure how I should do it. Do I need to annotate every picture? You know, do I need to tell a funny story about every little drawing I draw? Because there isn't any. And two, it means I have to cut up the sketchbooks and scan them properly. But I don't know. If you really want that, comment down below. Say, Bill, yeah, we really want an art book of your sketchbooks, and I'll think about it. And if you know how to do it, maybe get in touch with me. Tell me how I need to go about publishing it. I don't know, but that's enough of that. So this video is sponsored by Squarespace. Now, Squarespace is a website where you go to make websites. Now, if you have no idea how to make a website, you don't know how to do with a HTML, is it HTML? I'm not sure. And you just want to make a website about things like, you know, like a pickle website, for example. Like, yeah, like that, like pickle perfection. That's it, Bill. Click there. If you just want to make a website that's quick and easy and clean and nicely designed, then go to Squarespace. I made this website in like, you know, it must have been like 0.5 seconds. Maybe a little bit longer, I'm not sure, but it was really easy and it looks pretty good. And I will add stuff to it at some point. But yeah, if you want to make your own website, there's a sale going on at Squarespace. There's a little link down below. Go and have a look. So I'm really liking the idea of the gore climbing up rocks, you know, making like meaty rocks. So I'm going to use this XPS foam and make a rock. Now I have lots of sandstone stack rock pieces of terrain on my shelf anyway, but I thought, you know, because I'm such a nice guy, I'm going to make one and show you how I did it, because, you know, I'm just a really nice guy. So there are several ways to make like sandstone rocks for terrain. Now I've made it using cardboard and like cardboard pulp before, because I didn't have any XPS foam. Now I do have some XPS foam because someone sent me a load, but you know, I know it's not available to everyone, but this is the easiest way to do it. And this is just an example rock because I've already got some. I just want to show you how to build it. Basically, this is the stuff that everyone uses to build everything. Any D&D channel, you go and have a look. They basically make everything out of this pink foam. I mean, I find it quite annoying to use, quite messy, but you can pretty much make anything with it. It's just a little bit too easy for me. But that's besides the point. I just want to show you how to make one so you can go and make it yourself, and then we can just get on with the gory stuff. Now the trick to making sandstone rock is to just carve horizontally all the way along, all the way around the edges, everywhere. Basically just make a big mess, just keep carving, just don't cut your finger off, please don't cut your finger off. I'm talking to myself. Now once you've carved all those little horizontal lines, you want to get something to kind of rasp it. This is a rasper. You can use anything. You can use a little knife, a little bit of, I mean anything. Basically you just want to chip away at it like this and it just looks like a rock. It's really easy to do. Now it's a good idea to melt your rock just a little bit of melting, because you know it kind of gets rid of all those little frayed edges, smooths it out, it makes it look more weathered, and it's just kind of fun watching it melt. Just make sure you do it in a nice ventilated area. So there we go, that is your basic sandstone rock. Now I'm not going to paint it, this is just a little demo of how to make one. And these are some I made earlier, I mean quite earlier. These were made before I even had a channel. I made these just for fun. Remember that, when you used to make things for fun? But I'm not too happy with them, I don't really like them that much. And I'm thinking I can repurpose these, I can cut these up, turn them into gory mounds of flesh, you know, as you do. And here we are, here are the rocks. Now we're going to use that clay, or das clay right there, which doesn't actually mean that in German, but this stuff is dirt cheap, so we're going to use this. So these are the tools we're going to use to sculpt our gory lumps. That's a silicone tool, that's a little ball on the end of a stick, I'm not sure what that's called. This is a knife, we've all seen the knife before. These are ball tools, I'm not sure if they're called ball tools, I should learn the names of these tools, but they make little indents. This is like a little tiny spoon that I use to spread things, I'm not sure what it's called, and it's got a little spear at the end in case I need to stab like a little gnome or something. These are roller texture tools that I made in a previous video. A gouge thing that you use to gouge out stuff. And another little texture tool on the end. Basically any handle I find, I tend to add a little texture tool on it. This is a needle in some epoxy putty that kind of I use to make holes, and another texture tool because, like I said, I like making texture tools. There you go. So we're going to be using this clay, that clay, which is dirt cheap, and you get lots of it, and you can find it in any craft shop, and it is possibly the worst clay known to man, but you know, you can just about get detail on it, which, you know, if I use epoxy putty I can get some really nice fine detail, but it costs lots of money and it's got that curing time. This das clay takes like a day to cure, so you know, I don't get that anxiety that I get using epoxy putties. Also use a little bit of PVA glue with it sometimes to help it stick to things, and it also makes it, you know, it stops it from cracking when it dries. Now, das clay isn't known for its detail keeping. You know, you need a lot of water, add a lot of water to it, make sure your tools are really kind of wet as well, and go crazy with the detail. If you add in texture like this, just go crazy with it, because a lot of it's not going to show in the end. A lot of it's going to contract when it cures, and you're not going to see it. So just go mad like I'm doing there. Just texture the whole thing. A lot of it's going to come through, but a lot of it's going to be lost, which is why das clay isn't very good. So once this thing has been textured, I'm pretty much texturing the whole thing all over. I want all the paint to kind of fall into these tiny little dimples and stuff. I want it to be nice, rotten, gory, disgusting flesh. I'm going to use my needle tool to kind of dig little holes and kind of do circular motions. It makes nice little wounds. Is that the word? Little wounds, little craters of gore. Now, there's something weird about making gory things. I find it really fun. Like, I love making gory things because when it's finished, you can show it to someone and they're like, "Ooh, it's horrible." And I'm like, "Yeah, well, it's just a bit of clay. You're an idiot." I don't actually say you're an idiot at the end. These be beads. Now, what would a build be without a bead in the build be? You know what I mean? I like putting beads in my builds. These are going to be zits and warts and spots and, yeah, just, you know, disgusting things like that. Not that bad skin and spots is like a horrible thing. I'm going to say that 90% of my audience probably had bad skin at one point when they didn't develop social skills and started playing tabletop wargaming, but I'm not judging. This is das clay terracotta, which, like I said, I went out and bought this in person. You know, I went to a shop with my feet and I bought it. And it's kind of red and it works. It's red and it works better on camera, which, I mean, there's no difference between this and the white stuff. It literally just looks better on camera. Is that vain? No, that's cinematography, all right? So as you can see there, I made these big giant kind of craters that seem to have burst out of the flesh. Now I like to imagine that there's like kind of giant botflies. You know what botflies are? Those things that sort of plant their larva inside your skin and you have to squish it out. It's disgusting. Just Google it. Maybe don't. But yeah, I imagine big giant horrible bugs probably will nest inside this flesh and kind of come out at convenient moments. Now this is a big piece and I've used a lot of clay. Now epoxy putty, that would be basically a whole roll of green stuff, so I'm kind of glad I used this stuff. And obviously the red looks nice, and if it chips away, which this stuff does after a while, you know, it's not going to have a horrible glaring white crack underneath it. So terracotta Das clay all the way. Now Das clay is quite famous for cracking. You know, it does crack when it cures, when it dries, so you've got to keep it kind of moist when you're working with it, and sometimes put a little moist towel over the top, or, I mean, I put this stuff in an airing cupboard and it seemed fine, but you know, that's just a tip that I read online that I should probably tell you, because it is like a, you know, I should probably give you tips sometimes, you know, always keep it moist. It's more fun for everyone that way. And there we go. That's basically the basic fleshy structures I'm doing. I mean, we've got about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces there. That would do for a little set. Hello again, it's me again. So this is the part of the episode where I ask you to like and subscribe and leave a comment, click that bell, and then watch my whole back catalogue. Send me stuff in my PO box, join Patreon, send me money, maybe give me a tip, share it with your friends, or buy me something on my Amazon wish list, or you could just watch the video. Yeah, I mean, just watch the video. I mean, I'll just watch the video. Thanks for watching the video. I mean, it's more than enough. Yeah. I hope this was useful. Now, I went on Amazon, did a little shopping spree, and I bought some resin teeth, because you can buy resin teeth on Amazon. You can pretty much buy anything on Amazon. I'm not sure what you're going to do with these resin teeth. I know what I'm going to do with them, but yeah, you can buy resin teeth on Amazon. I also went and bought a nail set because I need some fingernails, and it's got lots of little extras in there. Look, we've got a little free sanding stick. You know, we've got some nail glue. I mean, I don't know what I'm going to do with that, but I've got every kind of glue in the world, so I'll stick it up with the rest. And a free sculpting tool. Look at that. They were really thinking of us when they made this little nail set. I don't know what I'm going to do with all those nails. And also, I got some eyelashes, which I thought I might add in the build as like little hairs sticking up. But they're quite uniform, so I'm not sure I'm going to use them, but we'll see. This is my big box of bones from Halloween decorations and Halloween bits, and I just got a big box of plastic bones. Don't question it. And here we go. Let's start adding some weird details. Now this thing, I like the idea of a spinal column helping this thing climb up this rock. And I think that looks pretty good. We're going to blend that in later with some more Das clay. Now this thing, I want a few little rib bones sticking out. You know, like a cartoon piece of meat, but it has the bones sticking out the side of it. You know, like a steak, kind of like that. A few more on the other side, I think. There we go. Now I might stick a big eyeball on this one later, I'm not sure yet. This is garden wire. This is the stuff you use in your garden because it's green. I'm not sure what you do with it in the garden. Make weird, spooky, gory sculptures, I guess. I'm not sure. Don't ask me. But we're going to use them to make fingers. I want fingers to kind of grip around the top of this rock like it's pulling itself up. So I thought sculpting fingers would be nice and easy, you know, just a couple of sausages wrapped around a rock. The only thing is it ended up looking like a couple of sausages wrapped around a rock. But I think if you had a little bit of clay here and there, make some knuckles. I think if I had some fingernails on there later, they might look like fingers. Don't forget to keep adding texture as you go. Sometimes you forget and you get a nice little baby smooth finger, or you know, a baby smooth lump of flesh on your rock, which is a really weird sentence to say, but yeah, you don't want that. So I added a big spot here between the knuckles because I actually have a scar between my knuckles in the exact same place from when I was a kid. When I was a kid, my sister locked me out the back garden and she wouldn't let me back in, and I threatened to throw her rabbit in the paddling pool, which I was never going to do. Let me make that clear. I was never going to throw the rabbit in the paddling pool. I just wanted her to unlock the door, but she never did. But she came out with a knife, threw it at me, and it stuck between my knuckles. That's just kind of what it was like growing up, really. Look, there's some fingernails there. They look pretty good. Yeah, fingernails. time to use my resin teeth. This thing kind of looks like a mouth. Well, it doesn't look anything like a mouth, but I want to make it look like a mouth. I'm going to put teeth all the way along the edge here, you know, along the top, around the sides, because I thought that would be cool. And there we go, a beautiful English smile. Look, which is a horrible stereotype that Americans like to portray about the British, which isn't true because, you know, yearly people go to Turkey and they get their teeth taken out and get new plastic ones put in. So there you go, you're wrong. Some people do have nice smiles. Not me, obviously, but what I'm trying to say is stereotypes are bad. So why don't you just go take your gun in the back garden and start firing up in the air like a demented cowboy? Eyeballs, let's change the subject. I'm going to drill a big hole down the middle to make the pupil, and then I'm going to use this drill in the most inappropriate way to kind of carve like a concave iris around the edge. Don't do that with your drill because I'm pretty sure I've broken it, but you know, I'm sure there's better tools for that. I just didn't have any plugged in. Obviously these eyeballs aren't going to stay like this. Later on I'm going to show you how to make these about, you know, like 10 times better, maybe 12 times better, 7.5 times better maybe, to be more generous. Look, just we're going to make them better later, so stick around, just don't go. So now we're going to blend in all our little bits of work. We're going to put some more Das clay on this spinal column, blend it in. It's a good opportunity to add like little stretch marks and little wounds, like the stuff is tearing away at the flesh, like really fun, horrible stuff. You know, really disgustingly fun, horrible, you know, stuff that's really fun for you, but disgusting for everyone. Kind of like a serial killer, I guess. They're probably having a really good time. I'm not a serial killer, I have to make that clear. People do like to make comments, but they're just ignorant. And I'll get them, don't worry. I always get them in the end. So it's time to paint. I sprayed these things with black spray paint and zenithal primed them from above with a white spray paint, which is what a zenithal prime is. And I'm going to paint these rocks brown and kind of dry brush sandstone colours and yellows. And look, basically all that painting boring stuff. Look, because painting time with Bill is boring time with Bill, and boring time with Bill is story time with Bill, which is why I tell stories during painting time, because you know, you don't need to tell me, look, I'm rubbing a hairy stick on that and it's leaving bits of colour and pigment, and it's just boring. I'm just going to tell you a story about, I don't know, what can it be about today? Well, I guess we can talk about Meat Mountain. That's what I'm going to do. We're going to talk about Meat Mountain. Go on, get a cup of tea, sit down, get cosy, and here we go. Are you listening, children? Oh, turn on your ears. That's what they tell my kid at nursery. During the Great Galactic War that went on for hundreds of years, there was all sorts of weird weapons created, and not just weapons, like automated weapon creating plants and factories and biological weapon factories. Now, one of them was a mobile biological weapon factory that could be dropped on a planet and it would adapt and create monsters. It would create an army of monsters basically suited to purpose to kill your enemy. Say you needed like a big, long, slivery killing machine that can go in pipes and come up through toilet bowls. You know, that's what it would create. You know, say you'd want a flying thing that would fly up on top of a building or a pillbox and scratch your eyes out. That's what it would create. Human science got so advanced that you could basically break down DNA and custom make whatever you want. You could, like programming a computer, you could program a big giant beetle with a nice cozy seat on the back that had a little compartment to put your mobile phone. Basically, that's a ridiculous example, but you could create anything, just breaking down the DNA and reprogramming it however you like. And that's what these plants did. After the Great War, when the Great Armistice happened, everyone dumped all of their exotic weapons and science and machines onto the planet of respite to kind of, you know, to forget about it. One of these things was a biological weapon plant, which eventually becomes Meat Mountain. Now, being dropped from orbit onto the surface of the planet, this automated plant didn't really know what it was doing. It was malfunctioning. It knew it had to biologically create things, but it didn't know for what reason, who was the enemy, what it's fighting. All it knows is that it needs to gather biological mass and create things. Part of its basic programming is to create like drones that would go out and collect creatures and animals and plant life to gather biological mass so it could get bigger and create more things. But it didn't really know what to build, so it just kind of built itself. It just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger until it ends up being, well, Meat Mountain. Because the plant was malfunctioning, Meat Mountain is basically malfunctioning, it just created more and more things that got more and more, I guess inbred is the word. There was more and more tumours, more and more cancers, more and more mutations every generation. So it just became like a big lumpy, gory mess. Now, Meat Mountain does create some horrific kind of creatures, big like tumor fiends and horrible things that can go out and kill people, and it is a big danger to everyone on respite. But all it really wants to do is just absorb and spread. It just spreads out over the rocks, over the terrain, through forests. It just spreads out as far as it can, and it's just going to keep doing that until someone finally destroys the mountain. You can walk past a meat fiend and it might not even notice you, might not even care. If it's busy kind of capturing an animal or ripping down a tree, it might just ignore you. They're not malicious, you know. Meat Mountain isn't malicious until you start stepping on its skin and its exposed nerves, or cutting down some of its finger trees, you know, things like that. It feels absolutely everything that happens to absolutely every part of its body. Now, there are animals on respite that will go to the gore fields and the surrounding area around Meat Mountain and start chewing on the meat, start eating the meat. It's basically meat just out there in the open, ready to be eaten. Even some rusters have been known to go there and carve off a piece of Meat Mountain. But when this happens, Meat Mountain feels everything. Everything that happens to any piece of its meat anywhere, it's like agony, you know, it's like pain. And all it can do is send out tumor fiends to attack. So there seems to be a never-ending battle between Meat Mountain and anyone that comes near it, because, you know, it just doesn't want to be hurt anymore. Now, there are people that worship Meat Mountain. There are a few cultists that seem to see it as a giant mother, like a big god thing, but we don't really know much about those yet, but they might come up later. But yeah, that's it. That is Meat Mountain. I hope you enjoyed that. So I've stopped painting, I can talk about the build again. Basically, I'm using some red wool here to make little veins with a bit of Mod Podge gloss, and it's really effective. Thanks to Dan Does for reminding me of this technique. I knew it already, obviously, he just reminded me of it. I mean, he probably learnt the technique from another YouTube video, like most people. I mean, I don't, obviously. I just, I only learn my own techniques by watching my own videos back. Or sometimes I travel in the future to watch future episodes of mine and learn the techniques and then go back in time and use them in a video. Like, it's like a loop thing. I just don't learn anything from anyone else, that's what I'm saying. I don't learn. Hello, you're still there, you're still watching, that's good. Thank you for sticking around. This was a fun build, I did enjoy this. The problem is with gore, whenever I make gory things, I like to put a little bit of gloss on there. You ask anyone, if you gloss something, it doesn't really photograph very well, but it looks much better to the human eye. So, you know, not that anyone's ever going to see this stuff. Well, maybe one day. Maybe one of my kids might stumble in here and have like a traumatic event. I mean, I do think this one's my favourite though. Just tastes like Mod Podge. If you take some tips from this video and you go and make your own gory terrain, share it with me on Instagram, I like to see it. And basically, you know, get in touch. If you like the videos, let me know. Send me an email. I tend to answer most people. It's kind of pathetic, really. But anyway, glamour shots coming up in a minute. Back to respite stuff in the next video, I think. There's just a few little things I need to do to finish off respite, and it's done. And I can get my game finished. There you go. Hope you enjoyed it. See you next time. Here's the glamour shots. See you in a bit. Bye. Let's go for a walk. I mean, it's far too warm in here. I'm going to look up vitamin D. I'm pretty sure it's not what you say it is. So there we go, some meat terrain, a little piece of Meat Mountain. You know, I know a lot of people have been asking for this. There you go. What do you think of my meat? Comment down below. That came out completely wrong. I really had a good time making this stuff. I really love making disgusting things. I don't know what it is. Maybe a psychiatrist out there can tell me what it is. I'm not paying though. But there you go, that's enough for the episode. Did you enjoy this? I did, and I just want to thank my patrons. Thank you, patrons. Honestly, patrons are the only reason you're watching this video right now, because they support the channel. If I didn't have patrons, you wouldn't have this channel, and I wouldn't have this channel. I'd have to get a proper